My name is Andrea Sussel. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I work at Cabrini College in the Counseling and Psychological Department. I counsel college students for a variety of reasons, including addictions. We have people that come for mandated alcohol assessments and drug assessments, anger management. Those are the involuntary assessments, but we don't do involuntary treatment here. The voluntary side is for people that are having roommate problems, they're having problems in their love lives, they're finding they're drinking or doing too many drugs, they don't think they like college, maybe they didn't know what the right major was to choose, and maybe they thought Cabrini was the wrong college, or maybe they're questioning their sexual orientation, everything. Maybe they're having psychotic symptoms, depression, anxiety are probably the top two complaints that people come in with.
We're equal to kind of that outpatient therapy. Someone who's in recovery would need to not only see me for sessions, but they would need to be going to like a group outside of here. I had a student today who goes to our recovery group, and she comes to see me. So, you know, but you can't just do counseling. You need to be doing kind of like the group experience as well, if you're really in recovery. In the United States, there's levels of care. The highest is hospitalization or rehab, inpatient rehabilitation, and then usually people transition from inpatient hospital level of care to what's called a partial hospitalization, and then they step down from there to intensive outpatient, and then straight outpatient treatment. And of course there is wonderful AA and NA and Marijuana Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Marijuana Anonymous, you know, free for anybody in our society. It's wonderful. For the college population, we have a recovery group on campus that meets every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. That's for any college student at Cabrini. We have AA meetings and NA and MA meetings in the area. And we have a place called Adolescent Advocates in Bryn Mawr that we refer to, and the various inpatient treatment centers. We have the Karen Treatment Center, it's very well known. We have Miramont, we have Malvern Institute in the area, Valley Forge, and there are others in the city. There are a lot of treatment centers. Well, potentially all drugs are addictive. I mean, even what we used to think that marijuana was not addictive, people used to say it's only psychologically addictive. There's now evidence to show that it's physiologically addictive. Alcohol, starting at the most addictive are the opiates, heroin, you know, all the opiate-based drugs, crack, and those are very, very addictive. Hallucinogenics tend to not be as addictive, but you know, all the benzodiazepines, the Xanax, Klonopin, Ativan actually is pretty addictive as well. Yeah. And then nicotine, please don't leave that out. Nicotine and caffeine has potential for addiction. Well, one place to look for that is the human brain. They've studied the brain on drugs. It's actually kind of similar to the brain in love, which is interesting. But the human brain, when it has, in the pleasure centers of the brain, when it has a drug that is giving it pleasure, it has a spike in the pleasure centers of the brain, and the brain has a memory for what that feels like to get that high, which is why the opiates are so addictive, because the brain never can get that high without that particular drug. So also, you know, there are all kinds of physiological reactions in the human body that are not just in the brain, but you know, increased heart rate, sometimes loss of appetite, sometimes increase of appetite, sometimes increase in energy, or decrease in energy, tingling, sensation, hallucinations. I mean, there's all kinds of physiological body-based reactions.
There's a checklist, but I mean the short form of it is, do you have a personality change when you use that substance? Do you place that substance ahead of like other relationships? Is it your primary relationship? So will you put that ahead of other relationships, plus will you lie to get that substance? Will you find yourself doing things out of character for yourself to get your substance? And do you find that you're spending a lot of mental time in thinking about how to get that substance? Will you go broke to get it? Will you hurt other people to get it? And is it impairing your functioning? Is it getting in the way of you kind of being the best you can be in work, home, family? Is your health suffering? These are all signs. School of thought that you're never cured, that once you're an addict, you're always an addict and you need to always watch out. I subscribe to that thought process because it's very hard to kick an addiction, especially if your brain has gotten acclimated to like heroin. But they say it takes about 3 months to change behaviors. So, you know, it takes quite a while to kind of get out of those. First you have to get away from people, places, and things so that you can even have a chance to not use your substance of choice. And I think we have to add into this sex addiction. You know, internet sex addiction is also another form of addiction. So people, places, and things, and then a support group. And some people believe spiritual healing is needed before addiction. People can cure from addiction. I personally believe that. Some kind of meaning greater than yourself, you know. Not just like me, but to realize your place in the greater